Trust the far left to have me responding to fucking shit like this on my fucking birthday. You'd almost wish it was an actual April Fool's joke, but no. So because I'm a really big fan of Farscape, and because I'm unfortunately still on Facebook, yeah, I know, bad idea, right? Considering what Zuckerberg thinks should be the way to go for the platform. Because I'm on there, I followed the, what appears to be the official Farscape Facebook page to get updates on Farscape. Not that they really posted that much. And today, 2 hours ago it seems, they just dropped something political just randomly into their post about Farscape, which is just a media show supposedly to be enjoyed by everyone. But no, now they're injecting some bias into it. So I'm not gonna watch this group anymore. And what they posted was a link to a Vice.com article, and the title of that article, Farscape, I don't know why that's in quotes, Farscape was feminist sci-fi before it was cool. Was it though? No, it fucking wasn't. It wasn't even slightly feminist. Let's get that out the way straight off the bat. Anyway, the comments under this in the group are pretty cancerous. There are a few people standing up against it, but mostly it's a hive of scum and villainy. Clapperboard. So this is the post on the Farscape FB page, and I'm just going to click through to the Vice article and react to it, I guess. Or read it. Farscape was feminist sci-fi before it was cool. 20 years on, the space serial still holds up thanks to its cast of complex, flawed, interesting female characters and its intelligent approach to gender politics. It wasn't making an approach to gender politics. It was made in the 90s, in 1999, and we were still in second wave feminism back then. We weren't in this crazy, rabid place we are after 2009. With the third wave feminists who are completely batshit crazy. And Farscape wasn't made with politics in mind. It was this brilliant show with an awesome storyline that took you on an adventure through space. You saw all sorts of alien creatures, and that was the good thing about it, was unlike in Star Trek or something, in this, because they had full-on kind of puppetry from the Jim Henson creature shop, I guess you'd call it, they could get all these different kinds of aliens and things and all these different kinds of beings. So what does it matter if one's a woman or one's a man, or there's a human who's black and a human who's white? Doesn't fucking matter at all, because there's all these aliens which you can consider not to have any gender at all involved in them. You've got all these creatures where none of these things even need to apply to them. Warning, this piece mentions sexual assault. I don't know why that's in here. As of last week, Farscape, a cult sci-fi series made in collaboration between the Jim Henson Creature Shop, got that right, and the Sci-Fi Channel, before it was Sci-Fi, is officially 20 years old and newly available to stream on Amazon Prime. And that's why we got this fucking article, is because suddenly it's available on Amazon Prime and all the feminists have suddenly become aware of its existence, all the third wavers I mean, and so obviously they jump on it, and you get articles like this coming from the lamestream media, all the kind of shit far leftist outlets like Vice. Inglorious 4K. You might have heard of it if you move in nerd circles. This is collectivism. This is pointless, like putting yourself into a community instead of enjoying something as an individual. You don't need to move in a nerd circle, just like if you're an atheist, you don't need to be in an atheist movement to not believe in a god. This is bullshit. May be referred to as Muppets in Space. That's really annoying whenever someone calls Farscape that. It's got so much more depth than that. But not Muppets from Space. I think you're being funny. or the thing superstar video game voice actor Claudia Black did before she was in all the Uncharted games. It broke barriers in some meaningful ways, first as a serialized show, before that was cool, especially in genre TV. I don't know what they're trying to say there. There are thousands of serialized sci-fi shows in TV before Farscape. And perhaps most importantly, as feminist-leaning sci-fi. No, it isn't. It was a show so campy and daring that it was allowed to be a little weirder and more progressive. That's not what it was. It was just a well-designed story of a show. They had a sci-fi that was prepared to do dark storylines and show off the weirdness and like the horror and the queasiness. Like they're pushing boundaries against censorship, really. A lot of things. I think it was shown after The Simpsons in that kind of slot where you'd have quite a lot of cool shows. Back when I was young in the 90s, you'd have the slot for children's TV, BBC CITV, which is kind of a bunch of kind of crap. For kids, although I guess some of it was good at the time. Looking back, I mean, it was good when I was a kid, but after I was a kid it got even more dumbed down as time went on. Anyway, that slot would end with like Blue Peter, and you'd be on either BBC One or Channel 3, which I think was CITV, and then you'd turn to BBC Two, and then you'd get The Simpsons and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then you get these two shows. You get that, and then the show after it would be something like Farscape or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, this is the thing we've been waiting for. This is the cool show. Or 7 Days, I think it was called, or Star Trek Next Generation. There's probably loads of other things they put in that slot that I would watch. Anyway, Farscape Farscape was in that slot, but it was pushing boundaries. It wasn't for kids, and it's strange that it was in that slot because the sort of stuff in it is borderline gory, and borderline sexual. So it's not really something that you'd really let kids watch, I think. Especially not these days. But it was in that slot in the past where a lot of kids would watch it. It's not progressive. It's not campy and daring and allowed to be a little weirder and more progressive. It's an adult show. That's all we say about it. They actually had dark storylines, and the boundaries it was pushing was that it was available to so many kids, I guess. Whereas you never get to do that these days, I think. Show something like Farscape in a slot that's not long after kids' TV ended. More progressive then, it's more straight-laced forebears, especially in its era of latter-day Star Treks. Farscape, which is my favourite TV show of all time, just FYI. So that's this writer. Who's this fucking writer? Danielle Rindo, that's who we have to blame. Whoever this is. No profile on Vice. No explanation of who this is. Was filled to the brim with complex, flawed, interesting female characters. Yes. Nothing to do with feminism. If you have a strong female character, it doesn't mean your show is feminist. It doesn't mean anything to do with feminism. You can have strong female characters in anything, and that would not have to indicate necessarily feminism. And it played with gender politics. No, it didn't. In smarter and darker ways, it just didn't play with gender politics. That's not what it was. It had nothing to do with politics whatsoever. Than most genre fiction has dared both before and after it aired. I don't want to throw Star Trek under the bus here. Voyager and Deep Space Nine, both running when Farscape premiered in 1999. Again, these are not feminist shows. Voyager was excellent. It doesn't matter that Janeway was the captain of the starship. That's a good thing. Having a strong female character or a strong female lead does not at all have to indicate feminism. It's nothing to do with it. It's like when frigging Christians go around saying that atheists can't possibly have a moral code. It's like when feminists go around saying that non-feminists can't possibly believe in strong females in any way. Like, or equality between men and women. Like, what the fuck do you have to believe in this shit? Or, like, your brain is wired to think, oh, it must mean feminism. No, that's not true. Where the fuck were we? I haven't been using my cursor. Star Trek Voyager and Deep Space Nine, both running when Farscape premiered in 1999, had plenty of strong women characters and even some mildly complex ones. I don't know why there's like fireworks outside. April Fool's Day means fireworks? I don't know. And even some mildly complex ones. Mildly complex? These were characters I grew up with as a kid, as a young teen, who were role models in many ways. It looks like you've had a lot of other bad role models outside fiction, or maybe from fiction, I don't know, to make you think like this. This person was watching Farscape through a feminism lens way too early. Indoctrinated in the 90s. Like, must have been a very devout second wave feminist, or raised by them. That's what I'm guessing. Most people in the 90s who were watching Farscape did not think like this. I'm telling you now. It's like the same people who watched the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and loved it and enjoyed it are these days kind of people slap right wing on them or call them far right or something, and they're probably just conservatives or centre right or centre left or independent or non-political. These were characters I grew up with as a kid and a young teen who were role models in many ways, and I'd go to bat for several of their portrayals. What's up, Captain Janeway and Lieutenant B'Elanna Torres? I see you. This is some kind of leftist way of talking that they think is like cool or funny. I've seen a lot of it around. I think they're all trying to be like some fake version of Streetwise, which just, I don't know, it's so cringy. But they are still 90s Star Trek characters. Their growth was often stilted by the episodic format that dominated TV at the time, and the famously not really queer ethos of that universe kept a whole lot of interesting stories and avenues of representation. Seriously, there's nobody fucking cares about representation except far lefties and third wave feminists and SJWs. There's literally no point in bringing up representation. Watch the friggin' film or the movie or the TV show. Enjoy the stories that are being told. Don't go like looking for, oh, this character's black. Oh my god, they represent me because my skin color is a certain hue. Oh, this character is female. Oh my god, they represent me because I am a female. It's like the people who don't believe like a man could be interested in playing Tomb Raider because he'd have to play as a woman, or that a woman could never be interested in playing a game with a male character, let's say Gordon Freeman, because then she'd have to be a man. And how could she? Oh, she wouldn't have any representation. You know, how could she empathize with playing a character like Gordon Freeman? It's impossible. Like, get fucked. You can play as girls and enjoy it if you're a guy in a video game, and a girl in a video game can play as guys and enjoy it, and I've seen girls who do. And the same goes for if you're watching someone on screen, you can empathize with a character. You can empathize with any character on screen. You can empathize with a main character who is nothing like you. It does not stop you enjoying the storyline or even empathizing with the character, unless you're a far leftist who believes like representation is a thing. Fucking hell, this article is killing me, and that there are people who believe in this shit still. The universe kept a whole lot of interesting stories and avenues of representation firmly in the very special episode territory. Enter Farscape with the costumes and character designs and a general vibe so campy they'd make a Bushwick burlesque troupe blush, with its purposeful playing on gender roles and traditional femme-masc dynamics. Fuck off. It's ever so light but still super there foray into kink and leather aesthetics. It's a fucking alien universe. Jesus Christ. Its queerness It doesn't have any of this stuff. Stop reaching. Like, they're projecting their own, like, feelings onto the show. And on the far more serious side, it's raw depictions of trauma, healing, and on the far more serious side, it's raw depictions trauma, healing, and difficult relationships. Isn't that like most TV shows? Farscape was all the way out there. That's not why Farscape was out there. And also, can you define that a little more? Like, Farscape was a fantastic show because it did better than most sci-fi shows at portraying the extremeness of an alien world. Like, it still had lots of humanoid characters, but it started to go away from that with all the puppetry and stuff. And I think in future there could be a film or a TV show that could go even deeper into making aliens more alien, which I think is what Farscape did. It had a lot of humanoid characters, but it was able to play with a lot more storylines than Star Trek could, and go into darker territory and more fucked up stuff, because it went away from human stuff. And these feminists, they don't care about getting away from human stuff and exploring aliens and stuff. Like, because you see the, like, Star Wars, was it The Last Jedi? They wanted more, they like couldn't see that this was a franchise or a film universe that had loads of aliens in it, and that could stand as a kind of diversity of skin colour. Like, they couldn't see that because they all care about diversity of skin colour instead of diversity of thought for some dumb reason. But they're like, what aliens? What aliens? We need more black people and more women and more feminists, and this, I don't know why they gave that woman, why did they give that woman dyed hair? Like dyed pink hair? It was friggin', it was Laura Dern from Jurassic Park as well. Man, I don't know, that kind of pisses me off. They thought, like, oh, what a brave and stunning move to get, like, I don't know why it's like, why do they consider Asians minorities when Asians are more majority than everyone else? That's really baffling. But maybe it's because they're meant to be minorities within America, and so it's America that's the way that they decide on what's a minority and what isn't. And so, anyway, they wanted more black people, more women, because they thought, oh, there's not enough women in Star Wars. There's only Princess Leia and a couple others, like the dancers in Jabba the Hutt's palace and stuff. And yet, all the time, they're ignoring all the, like, the alien characters, like the things that Star Wars does really well, like all the slug-like creatures and the little bats and the little rats and the little lizards and things in the background portrayed often by puppets. And they're like, oh, we don't care about the gender or skin colour of those. No, we don't care about the diversity of the aliens, which is really what they should be focusing on in a sci-fi. No, we need more. We need to diversify the skin colour of the human characters. Anyway, you see what I'm getting at here. They only care about the human stories in the sci-fis. Like, anything they can get that they can apply to real life in our human world. Anyway, can we try and get back to the article? I don't know. It's driving me mad. I have too much to say. Farscape was all the way out there. Sometimes the show fell flat on its face. Explain what you mean? No one can be specific in these kinds of articles. But largely it succeeded. Explain what you mean. And it's well worth experiencing 20 years on. Through the widest lens, it's an actiony, sometimes soapy, space serial. I wouldn't call it soapy at all. You want soap, you watch EastEnders, you watch Neighbours, Home and Away. In the pilot, an astronaut named John Crichton, portrayed by Ben Browder, who is awesome, takes off in an experimental spacecraft, goes through a wormhole, and ends up in the middle of a prison break on the other side of the universe where a bunch of weird aliens are taking over their prison ship in a coup for freedom. Everyone here is a criminal or misfit of some kind, or they've been co-opted into the misfit band, and no one here is expected to be perfect. They go on adventures, get hurt, fall in and out of love, and lose and make friends along the way. Yes. Yeah? All that sounds okay, although at the end there you are focusing on human stuff quite a lot there. Like, I really like the Scorpius thing of he's fighting. There's so much depth to Scorpius. He's fighting his inner self because he's an outcast half-breed between an alien that is like a human and a Scarran, which is like a big lizard thing, and he's like a disabled person who has got merit and he's worked hard even though he's really kind of crippled, or he would be crippled if he didn't work as hard as he did, and he's got to calm down his beast side, and he's got these cooling rods in his head because he's got this kind of disease thing from his this human alien side. They're called sebaceans, which means if you get hot, then you need to cool yourself down because unlike humans, these sebaceans who look human can't deal with heat, so you turn up the temperature even slightly and they get like sick. He's got to deal with that, and I don't know, he's got this insane need to get into Crichton's head, and then he's got to deal with Crichton, who he kind of loves at the same time as like treats like shit because he wants the knowledge in his head. And then there's the clone bit of Scorpius. I don't know where I was going on that tangent, but it's like there's so much depth. Yeah, there's so much depth to focus on the characters other than the human relationships of friendship and love and all this stuff. I don't know why they're focusing on that, basically. There's way more depth than the people, this person who's written this article. Like, it's like they've only got a surface reading of what's actually going on in the show. I like to tell people who are first dipping their toe into the series to skip a lot of season 1. No! Fucking don't. Because, with respect, the team didn't quite get together at first. Fuck you! Don't fucking skip season 1. Season 1 is fucking excellent. God, they're all excellent. Season 3, I think most people consider to be the best one. Season 2, to me, is the best one. If you skip season 1, what the fuck? You're not going to even... For a start, you're going to have zero context. You're not going to even know what the fuck is going on. You need all the character building. You need all the world building. Else you're not really going to understand what's going on. I don't understand this person. Well, with respect, the team didn't quite get together at first. Fuck you. I also tell them that the appeal of this show inherently is in its characters and the way the show cares very deeply about their interior lives. No, it's the setting. It's the complexity of the place they're in. It's the, I don't mind saying it, it's all the different cultures of all the alien species, and the fact that they're not like humans that makes the show interesting. And it's also the different factions and empires that are clashing with each other and the interplay. And especially it's what you learn about each of these empires of aliens. Like Chiana's race, never mind Chiana herself, if you watch the show and watch everything that is said about her race, the Nabari, not only the people who are shown on screen in the episodes, but they talk about people who you never see in the show. They talk about these... I guess this is a part where there's a bit of politics in Farscape, but it's the politics of the characters. It's not like real-world politics. It's like the Nabari have their own political war going on with another race, and they develop a super weapon that, like, destroys half of their own solar system. And meanwhile, when they're on the show, they got, like, mind control pain devices and things, and they're, like, really sick. So it really makes Chiana kind of endearing, even though she's really crazy and wild, because you find out her and her brother are like different from a lot of the other members of her race. They're like this, despite how insane they seem, they're the sane ones. That's fascinating. It's primarily interested in this little petri dish of weird people and how they mix and bounce off and cling to one another, given the larger-than-life events of living in a wild space serial. Just the wilderness of space will do, I think. The show loves to take classic sci-fi tropes, body swapping, time traveling, alien politicking, you name it, and twist them in unfamiliar ways, especially where it concerns gender, sex, and notions about heroism. I don't see the whole gender sex thing. I think this person has like got gender and sex on the brain like most SJWs, and they're seeing this stuff as important in this show, and it really isn't. I'm doing the right thing. Nowhere is this more evident than in its principal woman characters, all of whom look like they could have been bought out of an especially colourful sci-fi stock catalogue, and all of whom are actually fleshed out, complex and fascinating. Yes. Not seeing the feminism. Aronson, Claudia Black, is a badass soldier who kicks the male lead's ass in the first episode. Well, she's a soldier. She's got the training of a soldier. He's an astronaut. If you want to talk about real-world human stuff, pit a soldier on Earth against an astronaut on Earth. Doesn't really matter what gender they are. The female soldier's probably going to kick the male astronaut's ass down here as well. She looks and sounds like a sort of sterile, badass lady stereotype made famous by Sarah Connor, short-lived Tasha Yar. I don't know who Tasha Yar is. But she also enjoys or endures the longest emotional journey of anyone on the show. They over-focus on emotions, but whatever. Grows in ways that are consistent with her temperament and her desire to be fundamentally a protector and a fighter. Yep. And gets to have a relationship with a man who actually respects her for who she is. Yep. At first blush, Chiana, here we go, the Nabari, is a classic femme fatale sex pot and a heartful dodger. I mean, all the characters have a sexual side. The show does dig into sex. That's why I'm saying it's not really a kids' show. I think it even shows some degree of nudity. It doesn't show full nudity, full frontal or anything, but it shows like several characters just nude from the back. So you see their like ass and stuff. So yeah, who slinks her way in and out of wild situations. I'm trying to remember if Buffy the Vampire Slayer did that. It's very similar to Farscape. It's in that slot, and it did a lot of similar things to Farscape. But obviously the setting was vastly different. But Farscape doesn't deny her pleasure or punish her for it. Farscape doesn't deny her pleasure. The show doesn't deny one of its characters what they desire that will make them feel happy. What? Who writes a line like that? Oh god. But that doesn't even make sense to me. Everyone on the crew knows how much Chiana loves to fuck. Yeah, but that's not just her. I think Zahn does as well. And I think Crichton does. Dargo does as well. Remember when he went to the other... What's Dargo's race again? Luxon. When Dargo went to this Princess Luxon, and she was like an old woman at first, and he was helping her die, but then she suddenly found like a holy grail type thing which made her young, and then Dargo was getting all the sex from that point on. I think, if anything, the characters that don't get that much sex are... I was going to say Rigel, but I remember him having some as well. Pilot, definitely. Although he's in love with Moya, so maybe that's already going on somehow. Yeah, I wouldn't single out Chiana for that. It's only a problem per se when she uses that sex bomb to hurt people, which yes she does. She's also kind, loyal, smart as hell, and crew MVP in dozens of sticky situations. Zahn is a priest, a ship's doctor, an anarchist who was imprisoned for a major political coup, who sometimes meditates naked when she feels like it. If there's a stereotype here, it's the Earth Mother healer, but Zahn, which you spelt wrong there, is also capable of terrifying violence and incredible acts of both selfishness and selflessness. She's spiritual, a scientist, and yes, she loves to fuck. Yeah. I don't see any issues there. I like Zahn because of the balance between her peace. Everyone thinks she's this peaceful, calm person, and then slowly as series 1 and 2 evolve, you realise that she's got this horrific killer anger inside her, and she's trying to keep calm, but she's actually really psychotic, really insane, and she's just searching for peace, I think, is the main thing. Later, leading ladies in called Jewel, who first appears to be a stuck-up princess bimbo type. Yeah, Jewel is a lot of a princess, and I don't like the crazy... She screams and it melts like metal. She just fucking screams. That's like her superpower. Who has something like 4 PhDs. Naranti, Melissa Jaffe looks like an old hag. That actress is in Mad Max Fury Road as well, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. And the one who plays Zan is actually in a different Mad Max movie. She's actually... in Farscape she's like a blue alien, but she's normally got this beautiful long blonde hair, and she's quite spiritualistic, I think, in real life, as far as I know. Old hag who has hilarious ideas about healing materials. She enjoys a good lay too. Sikozu, a hyper-capable spy who got super into leather and kink. I like Sikozu's relationship with Scorpius in the Peacekeeper Wars. And look. Yeah, they're all like that. I don't know why, are they just singling out the women because they don't want to talk about how the men... Do they mention that Dargo does it? Let's see if they mention that Dargo's like that. There's an obvious through line here about gender and pleasure. By the time the series has run its course, you'll see just about every main character on this show enjoys sex in some form. Yep, what of it? They're trying to put a spin on it, make it about gender and feminism. It's not. Interestingly, women are framed on top. No, not necessarily. I don't see any, like, why are we bringing up the divide between male... John Crichton's one of the only humans in the show, except when they visit Earth. He's basically the only human in the show. So why are they bringing up gender and putting, like, males and females into different categories when you've got all these aliens and all these looks? And you've even got creatures later on that are made of, like, energy that you can't put a gender on at all. Why are they fucking doing this? This is stupid. They're putting their identity politics lens over this show that was never about that. Interestingly, the women are mainly framed on top. That's identity politics. It's a subtle element, but wildly effective in communicating the series' ideas about sex. Who owns sex? No, that's bullshit. Who owns sex? Nobody owns sex, you idiot. Sex is between two partners. Nobody owns it. Okay, not necessarily two partners, obviously. It's between all the people involved in it. Okay, nobody owns it. Are they pushing some kind of dominatrix thing here? Is this femdom? They're discussing femdom here? Who is allowed to enjoy it without punishment? Are you saying that male aliens aren't allowed to enjoy it without punishment? What the fuck? It's a subtle element, but wildly effective. There's very little slut-shaming to go alongside all that fucking on Farscape. That's because slut-shaming is an SJW buzzword, mainly used after 2009, which was revolutionary in a time where most sex you'd see on mainstream sci-fi shows a little kissing with a strategic pan to a space blanket. What you're talking about here is censorship. TV is a place that has always had mass censorship. Everyone who's in the business of running TV puts censorship all over that shit. You'll see very little full frontal nudity on TV. You'll see a lot of protecting the children because TV was available to everyone. And now everyone's on the internet and they're trying to take YouTube and make it like TV by censoring the fuck out of it. And they're trying to do that with Facebook and all this stuff. The internet's an adult environment. TV is an environment that children could easily get into. Doesn't really matter what time of day you have the TV, except for very late at night. Everyone assumed that the kids were in bed, so that's when you'd see the most nudity and stuff. Like films with sex scene or 18 rated films they put on late at night, 10 PM plus. And that was almost always exclusive to heterosexual couples, wherein Farscape has queer scenes and masturbation. So, is there masturbation in Farscape? I can't remember that. Is there I mean, Zahn gets, like, aroused by sunbeams in one episode. I can't remember frigging masturbation in Farscape. What is that about? Zahn also has like mind sex with Crichton. That's not masturbation. What the fuck is going on? I don't know why they brought that up. I will watch Farscape again, although I've watched it quite a lot to be fair, and look for this masturbation they're talking about, but I don't believe I've seen it. And yes, Virginia, puppet sex. Yeah. Rigel's a Hynerian, a little kind of Yoda puppet about that high. Finds another Hynerian in one episode, and they kind of have little puppet sex. You don't really see anything. I mean, yeah. It happens anyway. It's, you know, it is written to be revealed as happening. Puppet sex, they say in one line for no apparent reason. I don't linger on the sex element to highlight the series' horniness. What does that even mean? Rather that it had a refreshing attitude towards sex in a pretty prudish time. I don't think that was a prudish time at all. The 90s a prudish time? The 90s was not a prudish time. If anything, now is a more prudish time, unless you're talking about the internet. Prudish? The 90s a prudish time? No. No. There was a difficult 4th season arc about sexual assault and trauma that intelligently, I think, played on notions about gender and power that was also unexpected at the time. 4th season. Ah, okay. Yeah, okay, so the main character, Crichton, who's a guy, was raped by an alien who was a woman. Like an imperial military leader. Yeah, yeah, you don't see many depictions of like males being raped by females in TV shows. I'll give you that. That was kind of brave of them that they did that. I definitely haven't seen that in many other shows, so that's probably a groundbreaking thing, because they wouldn't normally show that in anything else. Farscape does a lot of other things right that earned its place on my all-time favourite list. It's very, very funny and alternately quite dark at times, and rides these highs and lows in ways that allowed its storylines and characters to resonate so strongly. Its colourful aesthetic is wild at times and never not fun to look at and just kind of soak in. And goddamn, this show can tell an action story. Yeah, no disagreement from me there. But it's primarily those characters that have stayed with me through 2 decades of my own life, who were formative for me to watch as a young woman and queer person navigating a pretty terrible time to be queer and a woman. And despite some missteps, it's still a joy to check back on today, this goofy, funny, dark, wonderful, creative show about a bunch of weirdos in a spaceship. Well, your last line was more on the ball than the rest of this article, probably. No. This article was cancer. I'm sorry. This person, as I say, is viewing the whole show through the lens of gender politics and feminism, when the show was not made with that in mind. The show can be watched without any of that entering your mind at all, and it's not a show that you need to use to advise your real life in the real world, you know. It's nothing to do with that, and representation is bullshit. A lot of people who enjoyed Farscape are conservatives now, same as a lot of people who watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Simpsons and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and 7 Days, and all the other cool shit that was on during that time slot, that awesome time slot in the time when TV was good, I guess. Yeah, lots of people used to watch these shows. It's not just for you and your kind of little feminist minority clique, and it's not been created for you in mind as the sole demographic, else it wouldn't have been as successful as it has been. It's a brilliant show, though. I think you should all check it out, and you will see that it is not a feminist TV series, unlike this person would love to imply, from Vice.com, a beautiful, beautiful news site which will give you all the pure truth and amazingly astute observations about the world.
I won't. Crichton, what in the Frelling Hesmana was this article? Yachts.
Sirs, This Inerian royal was alone aboard the Leviathan transport.
You want the Leviathan gunship Offspring, the other escaped prisoners, the defector Aaron Sun, and especially you want the one called Triton. Well, I want my freedom. Interested?
My name is John Crichton, an astronaut, radiation wave hit me. I got shot through a wormhole. I'm lost in some distant part of the universe on a ship, a living ship, full of strange alien life forms. Help me. Listen, please. Is there anybody out there who can hear me? I'm being hunted by an insane military commander and everything I can.
I'm just looking for a way home.